Everybody, Andy here again. Another day, another vlog. I don't know which one this will turn out to be, but as I said in probably one of the other videos, trying to, on a spur of the moment, decided to do a vlog a day type of thing. This one was about a story that I saw the other day. I like to talk about music, and once again, this was probably originally going to be a blog post and was written down, but I thought, well, let's just turn on the camera and talk about it. Pink Floyd, the band, everyone knows of Pink Floyd, one of my sort of favourite bands, I suppose, and they went to court the other day to challenge, I think it was EMI, the company that owns, well, or at least sells their music, should we say, to moan about the fact that now, with the digital downloads, we all know, and I download a lot of music digitally, legally, and I pay for it as well, and I've even bought some Pink Floyd music in the not too distant past. They were moaning that a lot of their albums, and I'm not 100% honest sure if they were talking about every single one of their albums, but their idea was that certainly some of their albums are what you would call concept albums, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, that type of thing, Wish You Were Here probably, and some of the others as well. And what they were moaning about, and they won their court case, was that they wouldn't allow anybody to sell those particular tracks on those albums singly. If you wanted to buy any track, Time, Money, Us and Them, Breathe or whatever it is, from Dark Side of the Moon, you would have to buy the whole album. Same with Wish You Were Here, etc, etc. Now, this has obviously put the cat amongst the pigeons, as we say over here in the UK, because it's shaken things up again. They've won a big case here because EMI, one of their ideas, if you can sell individual tracks, people are far more likely to buy an individual track than they are a whole album. But in some ways, I actually agree with Pink Floyd here. Once again, talking about the radio station, a few years ago, on the final night, we tend to do like a top 50 chart or something, and we did the top 50 albums of all time, and we played a track off of the top 49 albums, but number one album by a country mile, another British expression, was Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. And because of the nature of the album, we made a decision that rather than just play one track off the album, because it'd be hard to pick one, but we can all think of the ones that stand out, we played the whole album in its entirety, from the very beginning to the very end with the heartbeats at the end, and we let it fade out. No talking, no adverts, nothing. We just put it on and played it until the broadcast ended. Worked absolutely perfectly. But for me, that's exactly how that album should be. If you listen to it, yes, there are standalone songs on it. Things like Time, I think, and Money, the bigger songs, I suppose, are pretty much standalone songs, but they all go in with the whole concept, the whole idea of that particular album. A lot of other albums by other artists, or even by Pink Floyd for that matter, it wouldn't matter quite so much. Put on a Led Zeppelin album, even if they are loosely based concept albums, the tracks don't flow into one another as they do certainly with something like Dark Side of the Moon. Slight detour here. So that's once again another one of those sort of double-edged swords. If you want to buy that album, I don't know whether it's already the case, but they won their case. I'm sure EMI or whatever will probably appeal against that decision, but in a way I hope they don't win. But what I do hope is that this isn't going to be a blanket thing right across the board where every single album, if you want to buy a particular track either by Pink Floyd or anybody else for that matter, you're going to have to buy the whole album. I think that's a retrograde step for most bands certainly, but if you are a band and you want to protect certain albums, and I could think of people maybe like Radiohead or someone like that who make albums that are concept albums, for want of a better word. Don't like that word particularly because it conjures up old progressive rock things that just meander and go on and on and on, don't make a lot of sense, and tracks that are put on there because for filler because it happens to fit the concept. But Tommy or Quadrophenia or one of those type of albums, yes, in a way I think they should be bought as a complete entity, a whole entity, rather than just buying that particular song. But in my opinion, it needs to be up to the artist. They're the people who wrote the songs, they're the people who recorded the songs, and it's their artistic heritage, isn't it, whatever you want to call it. It's what's come out of them. They put that concept album together, and that's what's important. So a landmark case once again. A lot of these are coming out recently because of the whole idea of digital downloads, and once again the music business is sort of really still catching up with what Napster started all those years ago. So another one of those ideas. Let me know what you think. If you can think of any other great examples of bands or albums that you think shouldn't be cut up into tiny bite-sized chunks and that you should buy the whole album. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.